Welcome to this week's episode of the Ramblin' Reynolds podcast, hosted by Jesse Reynolds. This week's episode will be an interview with one of my friends, Chris Azzarello, and hopefully, this will be a good interview as compared to my past interviews. And to give a background of Chris, I've met Chris through my wife. I think the first time I met Chris was at a party at the summer cottage community in Illinois, southern Illinois, outside of St. Louis, called New Piasaw, Chautauqua. And this place is located right on the Mississippi River. So, I know it was pretty cool. It was cool. He's a pretty cool guy, and he stands pretty firm on some serious topics, and hopefully we can delve into some of those. So I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode and enjoy this interview. All right, Chris, thanks for coming on this week's episode of the Ramblin' Reynolds podcast. I'm the host, Jesse Reynolds, and this week we have Chris Azzarello.
That's correct.
Yes, so Chris and I guess we're friends, Chris. Is that fair for me to say? I mean,
yes,
okay.
That's very fair. Even though we live some states apart and we don't get to hang out much, I still consider you a good friend.
All right, thanks, Chris. So let's start out. So Chris, where are you originally from? If you don't, because the audience may or may not know.
Southern Illinois. Yeah. So, not Chicago, the other Illinois.
Okay. So like Alton or
Alton is my birthplace.
Okay, so that's where you grew up, mostly in that area?
I'd say that's fair. Yeah, between Alton, Godfrey, and Wood River.
Okay.
So just we'll say the Riverbend area for short.
Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know, this is part of what's known as the Metro East of the greater St. Louis area. And so I met Chris initially at I want to say I met you in Chautauqua, which is a summer cottage community outside, like near that area. And it was the first time I met you, I think, through my wife, pretty much. I met a lot of people through my wife. So
I believe that's correct. That would have been our first meeting.
Yeah. But it was Chautauqua was a pretty cool place. It's an interesting place.
Chautauqua was cool. It's much cooler as a kid.
Oh, yeah? You don't like it as an adult as much?
No, I appreciate it still. But I just think as a kid, Chautauqua is a very magical place. And while it's still very important, I think it's more important growing up to have a close community and close friendships with, people. And as you get older, you still appreciate Chautauqua and that you can meet up with people and socialize there, but it doesn't have the same value as it once did. Not to say that it's better or worse, just different.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. You've definitely experienced things there that I didn't.
That's true.
Because, I mean, I didn't grow up. To me, it seems kind of like a summer camp, kind of, but I don't know. Does that make sense?
It's hard to describe. See, exactly. You're finding it's hard to describe Chautauqua, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to describe exactly what it is. The closest thing, and this isn't an exact correlation, but Amity like the fictional beach town where Jaws took place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So
kind.
yeah, I mean, without the ocean, I mean, we do have the river, but it's you definitely I would consider myself privileged. And I don't want to get into a whole thing about privilege, but you have that not everybody has that type of, you know, I I can't think of a better word than privilege. Getting to grow up in, you know, that community with those people with, access to say a summer residence that not everybody can definitely afford. You know, it is. It's a privilege to be able to have Chautauqua, and you can kind of read into it as much as you want, but not everybody gets that experience. You know,
No, and
so
then yeah, I mean it's a pretty cool place. I liked it there. I when I first went there, I don't think you were there, but this was like November of 2015.
okay,
I want to say like Thanksgiving, and that was the very first time I went there. I went to a friend of ours named John Schwaniger's cottage, and I thought this place was a cult. Honestly, I was getting kind of weird vibes. I was like,
you understand it more than most, actually.
yeah, but the first time I was there, I was like, what? Why is Jill bringing me out here in the middle of nowhere? Like, what's about to happen to me?
It is a cult like following. We don't sacrifice goats, but we commonly dance around fires and chant, and yeah, I mean, um and my yeah, and everybody experiences it differently too. uh See, my uncle grew up in Chautauqua too. You don't know him, but you might meet him one day, or maybe,
Okay.
but he grew up in Chautauqua too, but his experience was quite different. He was in the middle of two large age groups, so he didn't have a cohort of kind of close friends per se, like John and I and Dave and Jesse and all did.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he may not have made the connection that we did there, and he still appreciates it, but I don't think he holds it in the same regard as I do. And it has a very special place to me, for sure. Some of my best memories growing up were there, and it wasn't the same for him. So that's another reason it's hard to describe, because even as you describe it, someone else that was there may not have experienced the same thing you did.
Yeah. I mean, I've met some very nice people there that I wouldn't meet here and where I live in Baton Rouge. I mean, it's just I don't know. I've had like St. Louis. I in that area is I don't know. I kind of like it more than here, honestly.
Are you from Louisiana originally?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't know, because you don't have a traditional Southern accent as I
Oh,
would recognize it.
yeah. My mom's from Maryland. If that accounts for anything, I don't
Okay.
know. Or she grew up there for like 16 years or something like that. So I don't know. I,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I probably got most of my like hearing people talk from television anyway. So I mean, that I heard that plays a lot in the development of speech. But
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah. Um, let's see. So you just graduated from college, didn't you? Like you got your bachelor's recently, haven't you?
I just did. Yep, in May. It was
Congrats, man.
Thanks. It took a long time and switching a couple schools to complete that task. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was in part of the reason you didn't see me in 2015 Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving, it might have been too, if you were there with a lot of the Chautauqua people. I was in Iowa from 2012 to 2015, um, and I got some credits from Iowa. Not all of them transferred, but yeah, I was going to Iowa State those years.
Oh,
So, yeah, I didn't get.
oh,
What's that?
okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't get to Chautauqua much, uh, except to visit very seldomly. Thanksgiving wasn't one of those days. I was only able to come home for Christmas and my grandpa's birthday and stuff like that. You know, very special occasions. But,
yeah. Wow. Well, what's Iowa like?
uh, cold, extremely
Oh,
cold.
what
Yeah,
what what city is Iowa State in? Or
Ames,
so-
Iowa.
okay.
Yep, about an hour north of Des Moines. I mean, if you would just put a pin right in the center of Iowa, that's where it would be, right
And
in the
I
middle.
and Iowa's just north of Missouri, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'd say if northwest maybe, but yeah.
Okay. So so you ended up like transferring from Iowa State, and then you went to what University or no Southern Illinois University in Carbondale? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I didn't take
Okay.
really a break. I went straight from one to the other. Yeah. Uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and they couldn't be more different. I mean, yeah,
Oh, school.
I was a lot of cornfields and, and Southern Illinois, especially in Carbondale, extremely green.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Is like let me ask this. What's the like as far as people? Are people a lot different from because that's like the very bottom of Illinois, right? Like Carbondale almost.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, if
it's
I'm not.
Southern Illinois. Yeah, I mean
It,
we get most of the weather stations in Carbondale will be like Kentucky weather and stuff like that, closer to that.
when I say climate, I mean like what are people like, or is it like the South almost? If that makes sense.
Um,
I know like Kentucky and Tennessee, it's kind of like a mixture of Southern people and Midwest almost. Is it like kind of
uh, that's tough.
yeah.
I wouldn't say the climate is that. Carbondale is a southern town, so it is a mixture of southern people, but there's a fair amount of uh, urbanites, and we there's a fair amount of people from Chicago, believe it or not.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I'm not exactly sure why, but
Probably
yeah,
because they wanted to get away. Because I think a lot of those cities just like they're just so big. I mean, people are just overwhelmed.
yeah,
But I mean, like I could see Houston becoming that way for sure.
yeah. Southern Illinois is interesting. It's not exactly a farm community, even though there's a fair amount of agriculture and wineries and things like that there. I mean, it's got its problems. There's Carbondale's a nice, it's a great school. I can say that it's a great school. Um, the city has struggled financially.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, yeah, it's struggling a little bit. I think I don't know the exact numbers, but um, let's see, the you know school population, student body has decreased by a very large percentage, at least 20 to 30%, if not more, over the past maybe even 50%. It's yeah, and
Oh
so
gosh.
and so when attendance at the university drops like that, the town kind of fluctuates with that. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Carbondale Hospital and the university there are the two largest probably employers in Carbondale, I would say. So
Yeah.
it's just one small town to another for me. Honestly, I'm right now in a town that has one gas station, one deli, and one little hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So, what part of the state are you in? Because if anyone doesn't know, Chris took an internship in Washington State after college. So,
Yeah, it was. So Skycomish,
is the name of the town?
Washington, and it's let's see, what part? Where am I? I'm in Northwest Washington. I'm in what you call the greater north, the Northern Cascades range, right in the Cascade Mountains.
Oh, okay.
About an hour and 20 east of Seattle.
Oh, okay.
So very close proximity to Seattle, relatively. I mean, only an hour away, but couldn't be further from civilization. I mean, yeah, the only reason this town even exists is because there's a U.S. Forest Service Ranger District station right here. Otherwise, there's a highway going through the forest, and that's literally where I live. I basically live at the ranger station. I mean, I'm on government property and in government housing, and there's this little highway that goes from the, eastern side of Washington to the western, connecting Seattle to eastern Washington. From Spokane to Seattle.
Yeah.
So, it's the Mount Baker National Forest. It's beautiful. As you're driving in here, you can actually see why they call it the Cascade Range, because as you're driving along the highway, you can see the mountain ranges one after another, like on the left and then on the right, and then again on the left and on the right, and so forth, all the way down the valley. So it's really beautiful.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I think Anna and Avery and Dave and those guys may have came out here a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
For a trip. They were in Rattlesnake Canyon, which is not in this district. It's in a different forest district, but it's still in the Mount Baker National Forest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you enjoy the forestry internship so far?
There's ups and downs with it. I'd say with any job,
Right.
I'm kind of learning about what I don't want to do in addition to what I want to do. And so the Forest Service is a lot like the National Park Service.
Okay.
They have different agendas. The Park Service is more for recreation, and the Forest Service is more for conservation. But at the same time, the job duties are very similar. I'd say a park ranger is similar to a forest ranger in that you're working with the public a lot and helping them be good stewards of the land. And by that, I mean being, practicing good ecological, sustainable practices. Not being a litter bug.
Oh, wow.
But not just that. There's, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to it. It seems easy, but there's a lot of rules too. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any cool wildlife on the job yet?
I have. I saw a black bear earlier today.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I saw more his rear end than anything else. He was scurrying away. There's a lot of bear butts you see here. Uh,
Yeah.
they're not too fond of people, but you can
Yeah.
see he was running across the road. I was in my vehicle, not my vehicle, the truck I drive around for work, and
Uh-huh.
there was one truck up ahead, stopped, checking him out, and as soon as we pulled up, even
Mm.
he just darted across the road. But he was he was a juvenile. I'd say he was only 3 years old. He was pretty big even for that. But um,
Wow.
yeah, the other day there was a shooting. Someone popped a black bear, a big 400-pounder. He was rummaging through somebody's yard, maybe in their trash can. I'm not sure, but uh, a handgun isn't a large enough caliber bullet to even really, I'd say, mortally wound a bear. But he was hurt. He was bleeding a little bit. I felt bad after I learned about that. But that's what people do around here. That the um the locals around here treat the black bears like raccoons.
Jeez.
I mean, they are everywhere. They are everywhere. But I didn't agree with. I mean, I would never agree with just shooting an animal to scare. I would honestly try to make a lot of noise. Do whatever you can to scare. You don't want it rummaging through your garbage. You definitely don't want it dependent on your food. Um,
Because it
but
won't leave.
yeah, and they have. I mean, and bears are very smart and they have great memories. I mean, if a bear remembers a food source and he can get at that food source regularly, he could travel, 100 or more miles to find that food source, and he'll remember it. He's not going to forget it where he found that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there, but again, I don't agree with that particular action. If one of us would have been on the job when that happened, we would have discouraged and probably ticketed that guy. I mean, that's abusive. You shouldn't really shoot a bear unless you're in danger, and he wasn't in danger. He probably should have tried to scare it away first. There's a lot of things you can get. You could. I'm not advising anybody walk up on a bear, but they're very easily startled. I mean, he's not going to stick around in the garbage if you're throwing rocks at him. And there's a lot of things you can do to discourage a bear without shooting it. But like I said, the locals kind of do what they want here. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Technically, if it's on your property, you have a lot of kind of leeway to do what you want to get rid of it. But I wouldn't.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a different world out here. They are everywhere.
Yeah. Have you ever seen an alligator, Chris, in the wild?
I
You,
haven't.
you ever seen one? Oh,
Haven't.
that's pretty terrifying, if you
Yeah.
ask me. Oh yeah. One time, so I was in the Navy for some like 6 years. I'm sure you know that, but
Yeah.
when I was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida, I went. I played golf with some, guys at work, and we were on a golf course, and they had this big alligator right on the golf course, and these guys were like trying to antagonize the alligator,
Oh gosh.
and I just like stepped on the gas of my golf cart and got out of there. I was like, "You guys are idiots. You're about to
Great
be
move.
eaten." Huh? Yeah, I wasn't gonna stick around because I knew better. I mean, that wasn't the first alligator I saw, growing up here, but yeah, that
Was
was
he a
probably
big one?
the. Yeah, he was big. He was at least like 12 feet, I think. I don't know. He was good size, like 10 feet or around there. He was
He was a big boy.
huge. Yeah, he was an adult. Like, he would have. I mean, they're not slow either, I don't think.
Not that I'm aware of. No, I imagine they can. When they want to run, they can get up to 15 miles an hour, probably, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you're in a golf cart, you're exposed. So, like, that guy would have got he would have lost a leg, and I don't know, fools. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. Yeah, and plus, like, like if we were fishing that day, that would have been a total different thing. Like, I don't, they're like if you're in the water, they'll like they have the advantage for sure.
Oh yeah, you're food in the water to them, I imagine.
Yeah, but yeah, that's as far as that's probably the only thing I've never seen. Yeah, I've never seen bears. I saw an elk once in Colorado,
Oh
and
man,
huh?
I'm just you just remind. I'm just thinking back to all my elk experiences. Too many to count. God.
Yeah, there. We were. Where were we at? We were up in like Evergreen, which is right outside Denver,
Mm-hmm.
and they just kind of hang out on the side of the road up there in the
Yeah,
mountains.
they're like pigeons out there.
Yeah,
Man, those things can be scary too. I mean, if you
yeah.
walk up on one by accident, which I have, I
Oh
mean,
wow.
you don't know what he's gonna do. I mean, there's two things that are gonna happen. He's either gonna run right away, or he's gonna get freaked out and possibly curb stomp you to death. And you're just lucky if that doesn't happen, because I mean, elk mean no ill will. I mean, they're just deer, large deer, and if you freak one out, and it freaks out on you, it's not to hurt you, it's just freaking out. And it's big. It's a big elk, it could just.
Yeah, it's huge animal. Yeah, that's like moose too. I heard moose are pretty dumb.
Yeah, and they're even bigger than elk.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
moose,
they're like 800 pounds or something like that.
and they're angry. You do not want to piss off
Oh,
them.
oh wow.
They're very irritable. A moose will charge you. You should be more scared of a moose than anything else in the wild. Even a black bear. I would be
Oh,
much more scared to run across a moose.
even a mountain lion. I would be. I don't know
Okay, I'd
that.
be more scared of a mountain. Well, yeah,
Yeah, that to me that's the scariest predator in the wild. Is to me honestly is like a big cat.
yeah.
Be-
Um,
because because they don't like, as far as I know, the those animals rather not be seen than seen. So like if you're in the woods, they're just gonna like jump out of a tree and bite you in the neck or something, and then
yeah.
that's
Um,
it.
yeah. If you see a mountain lion, chances are he's been watching you a lot longer than you've been watching him, and that's not good for you at all. Uh, you want a
Yeah,
mountain lion to be scared of you, because if they're not scared of you, it's kind of like when you see it, and you have a lot of cats. I don't
yeah,
know. Cats can kind of be. Cats are funny because they can play with you. They can kind of play bite you, not like cat. When a
yeah,
cat plays with you, it's really playing with you, right? As a
yeah,
as an adult. But if a mountain lion wants to play with you, it's not going to be cute or anything like that. It's going to be scary as hell.
damn, jeez, yeah. So have you ever seen one? Because I know you've spent a lot of time in parks, national parks.
Yeah, that's one of the only things I haven't seen. I've seen I've
Oh
seen
wow.
grizzlies, black bears, moose, elk. That's on my to-do list, and
Those,
I don't want to run into one late at night by myself either. I would love to see a mountain lion, but it's hard. They're gonna hide from you until they want to be seen, and like I said, at that point, you'd almost
yeah,
rather not see it.
yeah.
I heard this guy telling me he was at the north entrance to Yellowstone in Gardner, Montana,
Okay.
and he was hunting one day, and a mountain lion jumped down from a tree right in front of him on the path and
Oh shit, man.
scared the crap out of him. And he fired off a warning shot to scare, and he had a big old shotgun. He fired off a warning shot, and the mountain lion wasn't scared of that. It just growled at him. It wasn't scared of his gun. It took like 2 or 3 warning shots to actually get it to scurry away. Um,
Fucking A, man. Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I would have pissed my pants.
Oh yeah, I mean, so yeah, he was lucky. He said he'd been there 12 years and never ran into one before that. So I mean, he's
Wow.
he's lucky to see one. He was lucky to get away with his life. Uh,
Well, so do you know this? So in Florida, there's the Florida Panther.
yeah.
Is that any different than a mountain lion? Because
Well,
they look similar, like you know what I'm
well,
saying?
yeah. They're it's weird because with the pumas, and we're gonna call it just a mountain lion a puma, just because
Okay,
that's what species it is. Uh,
okay,
so there's two kinds, right? There's the eastern and then there's the western. And the western mountain lions are going to be fairly larger and scarier than the eastern ones. And the eastern ones are functionally extirpated. I mean, the last remaining population of those ran down to Florida. I mean, they got hunted, and there's these little. It's really sad. I don't know if it's going to go through, but I think there's still like, there's still they're still cutting down parts of the Everglades to make room for Walmart parking lots and such. It's very sad what's happening. But yeah, there's two distinct kind of like species of mountain lions, I'd say. And when we're talking about a panther, we're talking about the Florida panther, not like a black panther, which would be native to South America. We're
yeah.
talking about the um, mountain lions, pumas, and yeah. And so the western one's going to be a lot bigger, and then the eastern mountain lion, the Florida panther, if it still exists, and I'm sure it does, it's highly protected, and they're still having trouble. Last I heard, they're trying to breed them, and they're having trouble breeding them because just when you have when they can't disperse out, you get inbreeding problems, and then the litter rates are going to be, natality rates are going to be a lot lower.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and it, you want them to do good, but my when I went on this backpacking trip with one of my professors, who I consider a pretty good friend too, he just was rattling off some statistics for us, just kind of a
Mm-hmm.
information kind of thing. And one thing he was telling us was that and let me see if I can go back and okay, so in 10 to 15 years, at the rate of extirpation that's happening, if something doesn't change, if we don't change our conservation efforts, if we're not successful, all the big cats will probably be extinct. And that's
Right.
10 to 15 years. And that's just not mountain lions. That's tigers, lions,
Oh
leopards.
wow.
Yeah, that's 10 to 15 years. That's because and this is on you can look up this information later. This is all pulled from a .gov site. It's not a I fucking love science article. It's not clickbait. This is
Yeah.
factual information. It's just a lot of people. It sounds drastic, so I wanted to clarify that because some of these statistics are going to sound very scary, and that's you know being a realist is scary. 10 to 15 years. We need to do something, and that's we could lose the big cats in that amount of time. Um, some other crazy statistics that we were just talking about. Oh, pollinating species. In Germany,
Oh yeah. I
in,
heard things
in
about
Germany,
this.
yeah, bees. Not just bees. Like there's pollinating birds too, but pollinating species are down 75%. Um, and that's just in Europe. In South America, like Puerto Rico, pollinators and insects are down 98% from historic levels, which
Oh
is
shit.
incredible. Global wildlife is down 60% since 1970. Um, 60% of the biodiversity that we've lost on Earth, 60% of all biodiversity is lost due to feed crops for cattle. people don't realize that just to have McDonald's, 1/4 of all land on Earth. So we're not talking about in South America or anywhere. We're talking about all land on Earth. 25% of all land is used to either raise, breed, or feed cattle. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
but that's
yeah.
more the methane from cattle is more of a detriment almost than cars. I heard. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that somewhere.
I mean, I know that when you have like for instance, and yes, and methane, and yeah, most of the methane is at least there's a lot of greenhouse gases, but the methane, the majority of that is from cattle, and that is correct.
Yeah.
On a cruise ship, so like if you had a cruise ship of people, each person on that cruise ship represents about 1,000 cars worth of emissions. So there's
wow.
a staggering statistic. So, yeah, I mean, we love to cruise. You know, the ocean, all these big ocean liners. Yeah, each person represents about the emissions worth of 1,000 vehicles.
Yeah, I have no
crazy.
interest. I have no interest on going any cruises anytime soon. I spent more than enough time in the ocean, so
I bet.
yeah.
Yeah, where are you? Who are you looking at for this next election? I know it's not Trump. It's got to be somebody better than that.
Oh yeah. I like Andrew Yang, man. I mean,
I've been hearing about him lately.
it's kind of selfish, my reasons, but I like his viewpoints on how he sees what automation is going to do for the economy and how many people's jobs are going to be lost on automation. So he's done this. What is it called? What's it called? Like, well, if he becomes president, he promises each person will get $1,000 a month, and he's gonna, yeah,
okay.
and he's gonna. I mean, he also said he wanted to legalize marijuana federally, but I don't know. But and he wanted to do what the Illinois governor just did too. He was talking about pardoning people for small pot possession or that kind of stuff. But the thing that got me the most was that he sees that automation is going to take away a lot of jobs. Like for instance, like there's a lot of truckers out there on the highways.
Yes.
Here in Louisiana, they just passed a law to do what Andrew Yang just said, to try out the automation for truck drivers, because here in this state, a lot of car accidents are from 18-wheelers. So and it's like, I think Louisiana's up there on as far as like injury lawyers, like like an accident, like it's a very litigious state, and that's a good source of like economy here almost, I feel like. But anyways, I think I like Andrew Yang. I like his. I don't think. I think Bernie is. I mean, he's just so old, and he preaches the socialism, for the healthcare thing, and I don't know if I mean, I don't know if it'll work, and if they do introduce it, I feel there have to be a lot of contingencies, because the size of the population is what concerns me.
Yes.
And I'm somebody who uses universal health care already, basically using the VA, and it's already a flawed system. So I don't know if our government will be able to sustain it, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. And flaw, there's just things about it you would change or that don't work exactly right. Wait times, maybe, is that what you're thinking of, or?
Yeah, wait times. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, I've gotten some apathetic doctors too. Like for instance, let's say I've shown up to the VA, and let's say your doctor isn't there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You get like a float doctor. He'll see you, but he's not interested in really helping you. At least this guy wasn't. I mean he did what he was asked to do, but if you asked him anything extra, I could tell that he wasn't going to do it, and I was like, wow, all right.
Yeah.
you, you
Well,
know
I think that's fair. There's going to be, I think what someone said, it would take 4 or 5 years for it to, even if it happened, it would take 4 or 5 years for them to work the kinks out of it anyway. But yeah, I actually like Bernie. A lot of his campaign platforms, but here's what I believe. It doesn't matter what I like, but what I believe is that he's too radical and he'll never
yeah
be elected because it's not that I don't like his campaign platforms. I love it, but especially the free education, colleges and universities, stuff like that. I love it.
oh yeah, he did say that. That's right.
So you know, people are scared of radical change. It's not that it's not a good change. It's that people move slowly and they don't want to move fast. The post-industrial society is going to be hard to adjust to with automation.
Yeah.
People losing out on coal jobs. We get it. Nobody's denying that there's not going to be families hurting. We get it. It's not going to be easy. But in order for this country to progress, you have to be able to criticize what's wrong with it while still, you can't just be a blind nationalist. I mean, you have to be able to say there's something wrong. You got to change. Change isn't easy. It's painful. It hurts.
Mm-hmm.
This country's got to change, and maybe the health. I mean, you might be completely right about the healthcare thing. It might, our size, our population might be a limitation to that. But there's one thing. This really smart guy worked out the numbers, and I can't give you the source right now, but he found that people. Now we're not talking about people that went to college ended up, I think, contributing like 7% more tax revenue over the course of their lifetime. Now, like, not versus people that didn't go to college, just each individual, had they gone to college versus had they not gone to college. So we're not talking about people that like went into a trade school or did something else, but if people that went to college ended up contributing 7% more tax revenue to the country than had they not. And if you added up all the people that went to college and they were given free education, it actually equals out to, we would have like accumulated $10 to $15 trillion worth of tax revenue to this country, all those people having contributed. And it just equals out that people that go to college contribute, more tax revenue.
Yeah.
Had they not gone to college, and that's a plus. Like for free education, that's a good thing. But like you said, would you say it's fair that center has moved right and left has moved center? Like what used to be the right is now the far right, and now what used to be the center is now the right, and everything's just shifted right. Is that like?
I would say Trump polarized a lot of people. Yes. If that answers your question.
A little bit.
Yeah. The far right is right now, and this right in 2019, I feel like is almost like white supremacist.
Yeah. Scary.
To be, I mean, to like, I don't know. I mean, granted, like, yes, I mean, yeah, this is a pretty, I mean, terrible presidency. Yes, I don't even, I don't even think about it though. Like, I try to focus on like state politics recently.
Yeah.
Like, and then like I'm baffled here in Louisiana that like our governor's a Democrat and he went and passed the same abortion bill that was in Alabama and other states. Like,
What is the exact
it's
leadership
like
bill?
it's the same one in Missouri too. It's like I mean, I don't want to talk about it that much, but it's just that 8 weeks if you have 8 weeks to decide to abort the baby or something like that from conception, and it doesn't matter if you were raped or
Oh,
incest
there's
or
no.
any of that stuff. You have 8 weeks to decide, pretty much
Mm,
after conception.
I guess our population isn't big enough. Hmm. Seems like.
Yeah, but I mean, it is. I don't agree with it necessarily, and you know. But anyways, I just feel like like why is this guy a Democrat? Like that was my whole thing about it.
Yeah.
But
Well.
the
Yeah.
far left has. I mean, I feel like this guy Andrew Yang is kind of uniting even the conservatives almost in a way that because it's not about parties or anything, it's about you know what to do during this, like you were saying, this industrial revolution that's about to happen, like a similar one that happened when factories took over and
Mhm.
people lost their job from the like
Yeah.
in late 1800s. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what truckers are going to do after they lose their jobs. I don't have
Well,
these answers, but
but it's
I
nice that somebody's thinking about it, though.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, I'm in a good field right now in IT during this generational time frame,
Yeah. It's good.
but I mean, I mean, since I've gotten out of the Navy, I haven't seen over $30,000. So I mean, $12,000 a year interests me more than any other candidate, and I know that sounds very selfish, but that's the way
No,
I.
it it's not selfish. It, each person. It's not selfish to want to live. A good life. To not have to worry about your next medical emergency bankrupting you, which a little different in your case with the VA benefits, but to not
Yeah.
have, or maybe a maybe a better, your car breaking down, needing a new engine or something, or there's a million things. We all know there's a million things that could happen.
Right.
It's not selfish to want that. Every, I don't. It's easy. Sometimes people like to, say, well, oh, you should just be grateful for what you have because there's a starving child in Africa. And while that's very sad, you can't keep, you know, justifying your reasoning by drawing comparisons each time. You at some point you have to say this is this and that's that, and you can't compare everything to everything else. I mean, well, I feel very sad, especially since I might be going in the Peace Corps and I'll be living around people in rural communities that don't have access to electricity or clean water. I especially do feel for those people, but that's not going to make me think that we deserve uh, to live substandard just because that we have to worry about America now and we worry about other people then, and If that
Yeah.
makes any sense, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they asked Andrew Yang. I think he's for universal health care as well. That other guy dropped out. Whatever the representative was from California, he dropped out because he's running for re-election for being California state representative, or well, he's the federal representative representing California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but his whole thing was I mean, even though he dropped out, he was about like gun stuff, like whatever. What was that happened in Florida a while back? That over that high school in Miami got shot up.
Oh,
Yeah, because of the AR-15s. I mean, I think Joe Biden's thing's a little crazy too. I don't know. I don't really know the answer for gun rights. I think the background check process probably isn't thorough as it should be.
yeah. I mean, that's fair, and there's nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's important to know that that everything everything today is registered with the government. Your car, your house, your social security. You are registered. I mean, your social security number is
Yeah.
your identification number. I mean, to think that guns won't be controlled is silly when we do it to everything else. So yeah,
Yeah.
something to think about. Who knows to what extent, but I think
I,
what the Second Amendment right doesn't say you have a right to carry an automatic rifle, or it doesn't really specify. It says you have the right to not
to,
be suppressed by a militia, or sorry, I'm not saying it clearly, but
I didn't read the whole amendment. I thought it was the right to bear arms. So that could mean you could just have a bear's arms. No, I'm just kidding, man. But,
I hope they're polar bear arms. What do you think?
yeah. I'm just kidding. No, I saw that on a T-shirt one time, and I thought it was hilarious. But, I mean, I think that people should be more educated with weapons. I think part of this is that I've talked to like one of my friends about this more specifically, but I think that kids nowadays are just like kind of soft. They like, they kind of have, we saw that in Columbine. Like, people have poor mental health. They get these guns and decide to shoot up a school like that's their revenge. And it's crazy. Like, I feel like, kids are just like, there's a misconnect that we're not seeing here.
Well,
You
I mean
know?
that if there ended up being like an age limit to like you couldn't allow, there already is. I mean, you have to be a certain age register, but maybe the healthcare thing and the gun thing aren't completely not related.
Yeah, I also take it a step further that, like, I think if you purchase a certain amount of alcohol per year, that's a factor too, because, like, this whole thing about people that have a medical marijuana license, they're not allowed to be gun owners. I think that's ridiculous. I think alcohol is more of an issue with guns than marijuana, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure whoever made that silly law, and
I've heard this, so.
Yeah, no, it they also I mean, if I wanted to get my green card for that, I couldn't have done that while I was working in Idaho because I currently had my commercial driver's license, and there's a law that says you can't have your CDL and own a green card either. Um and even now, I live in government housing.
Uh
Um
huh.
there's been this pattern, and this isn't just government, this is everywhere. Whenever there's a problem with an employee, they tend to just brush it under the rug and get promoted. Rather, like they would rather promote that person and move them to a different department or a different area than actually deal with it. And like they just instituted this thing to where they're trying to tell us now that we're not allowed to have alcohol in any of the shared housing. So on government property, we're talking about anybody who's a government employee who lives in housing like I do,
Hmm.
is now not allowed to have alcohol because, and this is ridiculous. In the letter, I wish I could read the letter to you. It's at the office right now, but it said, we've noticed that the wording was just like something out of 1960. It's like, we've noticed that the rise in alcohol use has contributed to bad behavior. And it's like, lady, trying to say, are you actually trying to say that, oh, these people made shitty choices because they got drunk? Like, a shitty person is going to be a shitty person. I'm sorry. Like, you cannot just blame alcohol and say that, oh, these now no one can drink here because somebody made a bad choice because they were drinking. No. If those people were going to make bad choices drunk, they were going to make bad choices sober. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, some people have issues with substances and they go off the rails. And that could be somebody who's been sober for a long time, but they just can't handle any substance no matter what, and they go crazy. Like, it all depends on the person.
Yeah. I mean, I worry even I worry about my friends that drink too much, honestly. And I know
Yeah.
I shouldn't think that, but I do. I worry that people that drink like several times a week. I worry. And I mean, I have a beer every now and then, but I don't know. It's just I saw like like my uncle my uncle just had a very bad stroke, and I don't know why, but I fear that it's because he's been a drinker for a long time and he had extremely high blood pressure, and I just feel like his drinking contributed to it. And
Oh, jeez.
yeah, and I mean, that you don't want to tell people, oh, you shouldn't do this or that. People want to live their lives the way they want to live them.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not. That.
Man, this is getting kind of a downer, but
Yeah, well, it wasn't supposed to be. I just did it that way.
yeah. So you've been playing Breath of the Wild, that new Zelda game for what is it? The Switch? Is that
Oh,
right?
I've owned this game for several months. I wouldn't let myself touch it until after graduation, though, because I
Oh,
knew.
because you wanted to graduate.
Yeah, well, I knew that I would just get crazy on it, and I wouldn't pay attention to my studies. But yeah, I started it recently, and I've been chasing this horse around for a week now. He's giant. It's in this new Zelda. You can catch your own horses and tame them.
Oh, it's like Red Dead 2.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of similarities. Actually played that. I see some similarities.
I was playing that earlier.
Yeah, it is actually a great game, and I wish they had it for Nintendo because I would buy it
Oh,
immediately.
they don't? Oh, wow.
I don't, I don't think they do. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, Red Dead isn't out for Switch.
Yeah.
So I'm out doing side questing and catching giant horses. There's this one like mammoth mutant, like 12-foot tall horse that just towers over every horse in the game.
Oh wow.
Extremely hard to catch, and I've been chasing them for a while, so I'm still working on that.
Oh wow.
A huge open world map. You cook your own food for sustenance.
Oh cool.
Yeah, it's great. I recommend this game to anybody who likes Zelda or Nintendo, for that matter.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't want to buy a Switch. It's just so much money.
Well, yeah, I debated for a while what to get. I mean, it was either going to be that or a PlayStation, but
Yeah, I think once the PS5 comes around, I might just stick to PC gaming.
not excited about PS5.
Well, it's just that, like, so the PS4 wasn't backwards compatible to PS3 games, which is like crap. And so I beat Red Dead Redemption 2, and I wanted to play the first Red Dead Redemption because I never played it before. And I've used that streaming service, PlayStation Now, which is you just stream the game. It's like Netflix for games, basically. Yeah. So I was trying to play the first Red Dead on that, and then my internet wasn't fast enough, and the games would keep crashing, and I was like, well, fuck this, and I canceled that. And then I eventually just went ahead and bought a PS3 and played Red Dead and bought the first Red Dead, but I just think the only way I'll buy a PS5 is if it's backwards compatible through all the games, like PS3 and...
I heard it was going to be. Maybe I'm wrong.
I heard that too, but I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And I don't know, I just kind of want to play some PC games. I mean, the only titles that you probably won't get is like Rockstar titles, but
yeah,
I don't know, like I feel like I don't understand like what's the Nintendo or any of these people like they should release games for PC, like you'd have a broader audience, but I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I know that they have to port the games for PC, like the code is specifically written for that console, so I know that part, but I don't know. I know that there's probably a marketing thing too, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I'm like perfectly honest, I wish the game selection on Switch was wider, you know, because I go through and I look through the games. I'm trying to get excited about, you know, a lot of them, and a lot of them are just kind of like, I could take her to leave it, you know. It's like,
well, the Switch is like a combined version of the DS and a console, right? Like a in-house, like kind of like the what was it, the Wii? Like they just kind of merged the two, right? Is that the concept for the Switch? If I'm not,
I mean, oh, just like a Wii and a DS together, sort of thing.
yeah, like you can.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
You could take it with you, right?
Yeah, which is great. It does depend on the game. Like I like to do Mario Kart when I'm on the go and I'm traveling. But with Zelda, I like a nice big screen for obvious reasons. But yeah, it's portable.
It's interesting.
And now if they come out with a new Metroid, I mean, I'm the first one to buy it for sure. I don't know if they have plans to, but I hope they do. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorites for Nintendo from a long time.
Oh, really? I never
Oh,
played that one.
oh
I
my
know.
God.
I'm
Yeah,
aware of the character and the. Wait, I think I played it a little bit. I mean, it's like, what's the character's name?
Samus.
Yeah, you shoot
Samus Aran.
like it's kind of like Mega Man, right?
Oh, well, that's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
the blaster is very similar. Yeah, it's a charge up blaster like Mega Man, but
Yeah.
that I'd say that's and it is a platform. Well, it's a platformer too. I'd say you could draw some similarities with
Yeah.
one of the cool like this is gonna be really obscure, and if anyone listening has played Golden Sun, it's still my favorite game of all time. Like, and it came out for Nintendo. There was 2 or 3 games. One came out for Advance. One came out for DS. It was just it's cool. It's like a mixture of Zelda, Pokemon, and it's an open kind of open world map. So, well, I wouldn't say open world, but you catch these elemental spirits called Jinn, Djinn, and you use them like Pokemon to fight. But there's also a lot of like puzzly things in there, like Zelda, and you have it's just a very very cool game.
Oh yeah.
Keep my fingers crossed for that one.
Oh, okay. Golden Sun. I never played that.
Oh my gosh, it's
I
great.
I played Ocarina of Time. I've played like all the Mario's back in the day. I 64 obviously. GoldenEye, all that. I don't remember. You ever played this game called Evo?
Oh, like is that to do with like evolve, like creatures evolving and stuff?
Yeah, it was on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I have. I used to own a Super. It's a cool game.
Yeah. So, yeah, that one was pretty cool. Those games, I feel like games were harder back then
Oh
than
my,
they are now.
oh my gosh! Yeah, you know how long it took me to beat Ninja Gaiden or like for NES or Ninja Gaiden 2 for NES or like uh Castlevania for NES or any of those. I mean, they're fun, but my God, spent some nights playing this.
Plus, you couldn't save, I don't think. On the
No,
NES, you could not save.
no.
They would give you codes for some games, and you would punch in codes to get to
Yeah,
a certain part of the game.
yeah. Sometimes I'll watch Angry Video Game Nerd just to watch him
Oh,
play
yeah.
old
Angry
NES games.
Nintendo nerd.
Hey, oh yeah, yeah. This guy, man. When I watching him play the old Ghostbusters, it's got to be like the crappiest Nintendo game I've ever seen made. I mean, it's just god awful. I mean,
Yeah.
whoever designed this game should not only be fired, like thrown into Mount Doom. Like just oh man.
Yeah. Or yeah, there's some awful games back then. Like, this guy's just like drinking Rolling Rock, playing, playing, these games. Like, he played, there was a game called, what was it called? Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde?
There's no
And,
for that.
and
Yeah.
I don't think you could actually beat this game, ever. Because once you turn to Mr. Hyde, your character died. I think like that was it. Like or there was no like I don't know. I think they just like put together some broken code and they're like, here, buy this.
I do question whether they've tested. I don't know if testing standards used to be different. I feel like there's some games they never tested to make sure you could actually beat it. Like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure back then. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
yeah.
because like as far as I know, the NES was the next biggest after Atari. The NES was the next biggest video game franchise, as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, Sega was there, but it wasn't
Well,
nearly as popular as Nintendo, though.
well, I thought Sega was around the time Super Nintendo came out, or am I wrong?
You could be right, but I thought I remembered my aunt and uncle having an Atari and a Sega, but you're probably right. Sega may not have been until later. I could just be remembering wrong. Memory's a funny thing.
Yeah, well, the NES came out in like the 80s.
Yeah, 1984, I think.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, so that makes sense. And then I think, yeah, Sega might have came out like early 90s, maybe, for all I know. I don't know. I was born in 88, so I remember the NES, and then we never got a Sega.
Yeah,
But
we never did either. Sonic was cool, but that was the only thing that really interested me.
yeah, or Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so what are you gaming on now on PC? Oh, you said you're doing Borderlands right now and some other stuff?
That's on PC. I just started playing that. I mean, it's pretty cool, but I don't know. I think I could play Red Dead 2 forever. Like, I don't know why. It's just so much.
But it's addicting. That game's super fun.
Yeah, I like hunting. I don't know. I like the story is incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. They may have just. I think they may have borrowed a lot from Red Dead to do Zelda. I mean, you hunt in Zelda too. You hunt for food as well. I mean, I don't think it's as intricate. I'm gonna have to sit down and play them both through and see all the similarities.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But do you? Yeah, well, I wish you guys were out here this year because I know Dave's been talking about wanting to hike Mount Rainier for a while,
Oh wow.
and are you into hiking at all? I guess I never asked you that. Are you into outdoors?
Yeah. I would. I don't really. We've hiked here. We went to this place called Tunica Hills, and it's like these waterfalls in Mississippi. But it was hot as shit. It was like during the summertime
Oh god.
last year, and yeah, almost like if you like fall down these hills on some of the trails, like you probably would have been stuck out there in the woods, honestly.
Oh wow.
If you didn't have like rope or something. The only thing I'd have an issue with is I'm afraid of heights. Like terribly afraid of heights. So
Well,
I wouldn't want to go up like on a mountain peak where you're like walking across like a footpath on a knife edge
yeah.
or something like that. But
Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah.
I hiked Centennial. That was okay. I don't really like heights all that much, but walking through trails and stuff like that, that stuff's kind of cool. I like nature.
Yeah. Well, there's this trail that goes around Rainier too. It's called the Wonderland Trail. This guy ran it. He was trying to beat a record. Ended up running all the way around it in like a crazy fast time. But yeah, it's kind of neat. Gives you like a different viewpoint of Mount Rainier from each perspective, and it doesn't like it goes up and down, but it doesn't really go up too high.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll see you guys when I get back. That's in Halloween parties.
Yeah, maybe. We're actually gonna go up there soon, so like this week actually.
Oh, up to Chautauqua?
Yeah, or well,
Oh, okay.
Maryville, but yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. But Well, Chris, I think I'm getting kind of tired, but I think this was a pretty good one, man. You know, we covered a lot of stuff,
Did.
and thanks for coming on, man. You saved this week's podcast. I
It's
wasn't I wasn't very prepared as far as current events and all that.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and if you have to edit it down for time, I'll completely understand.
Oh,
But
I'm not. That's too much time and effort, and I don't care. But hey man, thanks for coming on, and you know, if you have Instagram or Twitter and stuff, you can or Facebook, you can share it yourself to get it, you know, pass it around as much as possible. And you know, Chris, thanks for coming on, and enjoy your time out there in Washington State.
absolutely, Jesse. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. Take care, man.
Tell Jillian and the cats I said hello.
All right, man. All right. Good night, man.
Night.
I just want to thank Chris for coming on this week's episode as a guest. You know, I really saved this week's episode, if you ask me. But I thought it was a good interview. I had fun. I learned a lot of new information that I wouldn't have previously known. And please, I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. Like and subscribe to this week's episode. You can go and follow and listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. I'm pretty sure you can play it from Alexa. It would be cool to get some feedback on that because I don't own an Alexa. And next week's episode will be a current events episode, so please email me like subject matter on at ramblinrunnels@gmail.com. You can also follow me on various social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can find me at jesse.runnels on Instagram, Twitter, Jesse_Runnels, and simply Jesse Runnels on Facebook. So I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode of the Ramblin' Runnels podcast.